All right, folks, as I told you, I'm going to try to keep this short and sweet. First of all, why don't we start with our spelling? Now, keep in mind you can pause this video at any point if you'd like to get a better look at your answers. First things first, we talked about the word endings, the suffixes IVE, AGE, and IZE. The first page you're looking at is just the word sort. Please take a moment and check your answers. Remember, you can always pause the video. Next, on 148, we're going to talk about the spelling word that goes with the history of each word. In this case, the krikatos is Greek, for judging or criticizing others. Okay, you can see that the realize comes from the French to bring into existence. Positive is Latin for certain. And explosive comes from Latin having to do driving off stage by clapping. Okay? And then you are going to complete the sentences. Now, make sure you're actually reading these. You'll get a better understanding of what these words mean and how to use them, and hopefully how to spell them. Finally, you have your 5 misspellings on 149. And maybe we'll share some super sentences when we reconvene tomorrow. Next, let's move into our grammar. We're staying with adjectives. We did 111 in class, so we started on to 112. Now, we talked about making comparisons between just 2 items, 2 objects. Tim is smart, Katie is smarter. And we talked about how we added the ER. Well, now we've got something that we call superlative adjectives. That's when you're talking about more than 2 people, places, or things. You can form these superlatives by adding EST to most of your 1-syllable and some 2-syllable adjectives. Just like yesterday, if an adjective ends in an E, you drop the E before adding your EST ending. If you've got a consonant and a vowel, just like yesterday, you double that consonant, and the Y goes to an I. So you can see in a situation like this, John is the youngest member of our large family. So of everyone in the family, he's the youngest. Brianna is the oldest girl. Even though James is only 12, he's the tallest boy. You can see we're comparing more than 2. Okay? All right. Hyphenated words is one of those mini lessons within a lesson. Compound words can be written as 1 word, like homework, 2 words, like paperclip, or sometimes you hyphenate, like All-American. Hyphens are often used in compound numbers and fractions with prefixes like X or self. Elect, with the prefix before the noun and the adjective. And compound adjectives, a compound adjective that precedes the word or comes before the word it modifies should be hyphenated. So if you're talking about up-to-date maps, because it comes before the noun maps, up-to-date gets hyphenated. Okay? So you go down the list here and just basically said, how do you fix the word in parentheses? Well, leftovers is 1 word. 25 comes before the noun, so it's hyphenated. And hopefully you can go down the list there and you can see we have 2 correct, but otherwise you can make your corrections. All right, 114 talks about those comparatives, and we have 2 different items we're comparing. And superlatives, when we're talking about more than 2. Compound words, also we talk about the hyphens and the spaces. Okay? It says, proofread each sentence, watch for errors in comparative and superlative adjectives and compound words. Well, let's go ahead and take a look with this. Okay? All right, you can see in number 1, so far so good. We don't want to say world's faster woman. We want to say fastest. You wouldn't say faster unless you were just talking about 2. Okay? You don't need the hyphen in 3 gold. And then obviously it's not a question. Her colorful outfits and 6-inch. Okay, so because 6-inch comes before fingernails, it needs a hyphen. And then, obviously you wouldn't end with a comma there. I don't even know what they're doing here at the beginning. Obviously, you capitalize. You wouldn't have a random question mark in the middle of your sentence. And again, latest would be if you were talking about many, many items, not just last night and tonight. That's only 2, makes it comparative. Earliest, because now we're talking about the entire week, all 7 days. And finally here, I don't know why we would capitalize tonight. They're just doing some weird things here. Okay, but mostly when we're talking about making comparisons, we want to say coldest night of the year. Coldest, because the entire year is 365 days. Okay. All right, and then, well, the last page is kind of a letdown here. You just take the adjective in parentheses and circle the replacement. Okay. Steeper, ER, because it's 2 items. Rockier, IER. Why do an I? ER. Fastest, because it's more than 2. Nicer, because you're only comparing tomorrow and today. And greatest, because, well, of all others. Okay? And then lastly, let's get into our practice book. So we started by reading about the worldwide telescope here. What does the author include about what you can do using the telescope? Well, they're saying that you can view the planet's positions by any place on Earth at any time, including billions of years in the past or the future. What details does the author include about what you can do with the program Celestia? In this case, Celestia helps you plot locations and travel between the planets. And there's a to-go feature that lets you travel to different places. What words does the author use to describe the stellarium? To give you evidence about the author's view of the program. Well, how does the author feel about the program? Easy to use, enjoy the wonder. Phrases like that give evidence about the author's point of view, which in this case would be a positive connotation, right? And how would you describe the author's point of view about computer programs? The author thinks the programs are good for non-scientists to learn about the solar system and see what space travel is like. Okay. Now, this next one just talks about expository text. Just like we had yesterday, you can see that there is a graph, or I guess it's more of a chart there located, to give you some extra information. How do you know it's expository? It explains a topic, in this case, the robot lander. It uses a graph to give you scientific information. What text features? Well, you've got a line graph and you've got a heading. Based on the information in the text, is the heading a strong one? It's a strong headline. It tells you exactly what it's about. It doesn't just say NASA has many programs or cool things in space. Those aren't very specific. In this case, specifically, NASA's robotic lander. Okay? And what about the line chart? What does it give you? It shows the altitude the lander has reached. Basically, how high is it able to go in its tests. Okay? Connotations and denotations. We said look at that letter D in front of denotation. A denotation is a dictionary definition, whereas a connotation is a popular or understood meaning. So what they want you to do is they say read the sentence, explain how the tone of the sentence would change if we replaced it. If I changed from fly, or if I changed to fly from soar, it kind of takes the fun away, right? When you hear soar, it thinks a little differently than flying. Okay? If I took research in place of exploration, again, research sounds like a boring kind of thing, whereas exploration is more of a fun, exciting situation. Vast versus big continues the trend of making the sentence less exciting. Same or very similar denotation, but the connotation again is much less positive. If we took impressive sight instead of wonder, it's again just a lesser version. I think activity and experience are the same. And then representatives and ambassadors. Ambassadors sound like a more friendly greeter type of job than just a representative. But again, you can see how in this case, we've pretty much downgraded each time. Okay? Okay, page 248 is based on the suffixes from the spelling page. That's really very straightforward. Again, you can pause the video. Please double check and make sure. And then last but not least, writing to source. Okay, you've got a student-written paragraph here about using two different sources to answer the question, should Houston, Texas have been the final destination for one of the shuttles from NASA's program? What are some of the specific accomplishments the shuttle program? Circle precise. For example, the Space Shuttle Discovery launched the Hubble telescope, which has allowed astronomers to see deeper into space. Right there, that's an accomplishment. The Hubble is still there. The Discovery is how it got there. Why should Houston have been the final destination? Draw a box around text evidence that supports. Well, I could see two different places. Home to mission control and home for astronauts when they weren't traveling in space. It gives two different supporting, why would they go elsewhere? Underline the strong conclusion. Well, the conclusion doesn't always have to go last, but in this case it does. And last but not least, write a word that is a comparative form of another word in the line. Better is a comparative form of good. Okay? If you have any questions, please just ask. We'll address all this tomorrow. I hope you don't mind that I kept that short and sweet. Please ask if you have any questions. Thank you.